Hello everybody. I'm going to do something a little different for Sunday Carvangelizing. I started this book quite a few years ago. I have a lot of books, and I think a lot of this writing is just for my mind. They used to say if you're depressed and have a lot of mental problems, write it down. So I started this book called the Carvangelizer. It's about a young boy who starts off in life in the car world, much like myself. So I'm going to do, well, kind of like what evangelizers do. They preach, but most of their preaching is reading. So I had several titles for this book, but the Carvangelizer kind of stuck. I tell you what, I'm kind of took. I'm going to take my camera here if you don't mind. Let's see here. Let's see here. Anyway, here you go. Show you a little book cover here. Let me grab my camera a little bit around here, so just bear with me. Okay, that was going to be that's the book cover. A story about automotive passion. And what that is me and most of you. Most of you guys are like me. You were born into the car world. Your dad may have been a hot rodder or a car guy or worked at some auto manufacturing facility. So here's how I start off the book. The Carvangelizer. In other words, evangelizer of automobiles. The reasonable man accepts the way things are and does not try and change them. The reasonable man does not accept things the way they are. Therefore, all change is dependent on the unreasonable man. That is my automotive-driven manifesto. Excuse me, I'm getting my water here. I like to do everything informal. Before all this panic stuff went on, I never liked shaking hands. I mean, I shook hands, but I hated it because I was worried about getting someone illness. So, kind of my informal way of greeting people. Okay, I use this in the first person. I wanted to use it in, what do they call it, second, third person? In other words, a young man was born into this world. But I put I on this because when I do write, I have to think about what I've done, what I'm thinking. If it's about you, then I'm going to say you, a person. I was born in this world with no other choice but become that which was embedded into my DNA. And see, I was born, then when I get to, it says his DNA, so that's how I started. I haven't edited this yet. I came into a world driven by automotive passion, vehicular mind vetting, custom cars, drag racing, hot rods, performance, a car crazy culture, which wasn't that big back in '57, but there was some culture down in Houston, and strange motions that define my life. That means cars. The figurative exhaust of paint fumes, design strategy, metal forming, coach work customizing, vehicular art customizing, I already said that, and other factors that make for the most uncommon cars in existence, life lessons included. This young man from early on wanted to draw and design cars, and I did that. I did a lot of that as a kid, and of course I never became an automotive artist, except if you count pinstriping. Yes, I've already mentioned that 1,000 times. But I wanted to be an automotive designer, and I used to draw. I was, I think, better back then at drawing than I am now, which I don't care to draw cars now. And that was my dream, to be an automotive designer. So, continuing on, the road ahead was already paved for this child, one which he had no foresight, no say, no chance to rework into another set of plans, sort of like a religion. Children are born, parents teach them their religion. There was no other way, and that's pretty much how it was with my cars. My life with cars, being born. His destiny was set in motion even before birth. The future was set in place as his life's mission will influence how cars are thought of, designed, built, driven, etc. His natural-born talent for unique, well-executed design will vastly change how those with discerning tastes and unlimited resources arrive in a social stratum. It's how the elite reflects personality to bring to the top a frothy existence, a burning desire for those of means to own the most expensive of vehicular personality. When I was growing up, my grandma always had Cadillacs, and Dad, he was a pretty good horse trader. I remember in 68, he ended up with a 64 Cadillac Sedan DeVille, painted pewter silver and painted the top like a mint green and did some pinstriping on it. And I always had this thing for luxury cars. I love luxury cars, but in the last 15 or 20 years, I've been following these people that design one-off, custom, bespoke, coach-built vehicles. And man, I tell you, I'm into some of that. I'm talking with someone right now about doing some vehicles. These are high-dollar vehicles, high-end. But that was my dream, that I would have been born into that. And my life's mission would be to design, build, advise vehicles, one of a kind, one-off cars that people, of course, will pay lots of money for, and that is being done now. I know a gentleman doing 5 very expensive vehicles, and I think the cost to do them costs about as much as the car, and I think he's doing 7 of them. I'd love to do that, but I didn't. Okay, continuing on. This is a narrative of the Carvangelist, preacher. I'm a preacher of cars. A true story of life among metallic forms that drove self-worth, self-prophecy of this one with the automobile going in every direction. It is about fulfilling one's own misguided life and self-destruction. Because that is true. If you're a car guy, you know the issues that can come up, and how, when we were growing up, we loved cars, we loved burning rubber, we loved drag racing, we loved messing with our cars, and most of our parents and grandparents and adults said it was, this boy or girl is leading a misguided life. And sometimes that was true. This is a collection of how the life of an automotive-inspired individual lived, and how his survival of that existence kept him alive. This could be labeled a reminisce about what is learned on the way to that greatest of all existence, life as one with the car. This is a lesson in what cars can teach about living and dying, survival and endurance, tenacity and failure, success and success, spelled S-U-C-K-C-E-S-S, because we've all been there. You reach some sort of success, and next thing you know, it really sucks. And how it enhances one's direction to greatness and fallacy. It's about driving one's dreams, ambitions, and goals to that place of happiness, contentment, despite what life gives you. The road scarcely taken that teaches the determined how to get around potholes and diversions that lead to self-wreckage or self-preservation. This is what my body and mind ingest on a daily basis, a life that has been led down paths of folly and rejoice, a life driven in precarious directions, because this inanimate object objectively steers my soul towards eternal redemption among its tones of vicious and graceful movement. It has the propensity to drive one's soul towards insanity. And yes, you heard car crazy about cars. Well, there's a reason for saying that. Okay, see that? I had about 100 books of all sorts about cars and what have you, and I gave them away to a good friend of mine. I don't have room for them. Okay, continuing on. What I'm doing here is just mentally describing the situations with cars, as with most of you out there, and things that go through our life with the car at our side. It is like our life partner, whether we're married or whatever. Our vehicle is our life partner, because no matter we keep one for a year or 20 years, They're our buddies. They're our enemies. They're our pain. They're our joy. A life among beautiful motoring is unforgiving, an existence deriving from gleaming metal. Regardless of the deprivations, its mellow tones of aura forever stirs the heart into oblivion. This is the tale of the heart condition bred with vehicular sadism. Yes, it's like that. Life with a never-evolving love for that automobile and all its desires and fleshly schemes. I think when I was writing this, I was trying to do it in a biblical prose. You know, something you may have read in Proverbs or some of the other scriptures. Yeah, I've read the Bible 3 times, and it has influenced some of my life. So this is a tale of the heart condition bred with vehicular sadism. Yeah, it's like that. Life with an ever-evolving love for that automobile and all its desires and fleshly schemes. A life which has led this body and mind down the path of emotional enlightenment and mental torment. Despite the trials, I move forward due to the lure of intoxicating sounds emitting from revolutions of power. That growling sensuality calls out at every loathing minute of my existence. Despite the voluptuous figure drawing out what may be his last breath of existence, he, meaning me, I go forth, steering life in vehicular direction, artistically putting forth successes for those who pay the way. He is rewarded greatly to enhance metal curvatures, designs and motion that imitate beauty of the universe, just to make a statement of individualism. So there I am in a dream sequence that I am designing high-dollar cars for the wealthy. And those, in this day and age, and you know, back in the early teens and 20s of the 20th century, you know, people who did this were wealthy. They would hire out people to build them coach-built cars. Individualism. That's what custom cars are about. Rolling sculpture egresses to the darkest recesses of the mind. That should be ingress, because ingress means to get inside. This inanimate object carrying innocent men to a great ecstasy along roads of unwavering sensuality. Its brightness weakens even the strongest among men. Whatever it is or wherever it goes, there exists human form ready to welcome its glorious presence despite consequences. That is where this story goes, the Carvangelist. Now here's a little, in this book I have like little highlighted areas. I put about automotive driven. I think it should be more automotive driven motivation. Here's my little highlighted area. I don't know if it's some sort of inspiration or motivation. I don't know what I was doing here. My wife says I'm an enigma. This is me talking about now. My doctor says I'm quadpolar. My friends say I'm okay. Me, I'm insecure. My mind says I'm car crazy. Insignificant scribblings of that which haunts my life helps keep my mind somewhat sane while insecurity digs deeper within my psyche. It's what resides in the darkest, deepest recesses of my automotive-driven mind. Now, every one of you, if you're a car guy, a true gearhead, car lady, you know, I say guy, that means both sexes. You could be an artist, you could be a musician. Hey, my brother-in-law, he's into construction, and every time he bought a brand new Dodge 3 years ago and drove it all the way down from Iowa, just had me stripe it. I've always striped his cars. He's not a car guy. He likes cars, but he's not really a car guy. So that's what we go. That's me, and you too. I'm going to read chapter 1, and I hope you enjoy this. I mean, you know, if you don't like it, let me know. We'll go back to the informal stuff. This story could have been told in the third person like a real life. Now, remember, this is not edited, so I wrote all this in a hurry in like a week. I haven't even edited it. So, okay, this story could be told in the third person like a real life story, but I've chosen to tell it in my own true words, okay, first person. I think the reader will get a more personalized feel for my life with cars and as an artist who started life deep inside the recesses of cardom, C-A-R-D-O-M. That was a word they used way back meant the whole aura, whole feel of vehicles and cars. This story is my story, an interpretation of life among metallic forms that drive man to his self-worth. Because in my case, like I haven't had a really nice car in a year or so, and I just get depressed. I feel like I'm not worth anything. I mean, I go online and look at things. I mean, yeah, there's projects that are waiting, but to get in something like I always had for 35 years that looked cool, felt cool. I haven't had anything in the last few years. A lot of that has to do with health issues. So, life as one with the car. It's what my body, mind, spirit, soul contemplates on a daily basis. Something that has led down paths of folly and rejoice, steps that were taken in precarious direction because this inanimate object steers my very soul towards eternal redemption among its tones of viciousness and movement that compels the soul to drive towards insanity. We mentioned that before, but like I said, sort of biblical, where sometimes the Bible will say something, you'll read a scripture 110,000 scriptures down, like, okay, what is he saying here? Is it a contradiction, or is it just a comparison of what the scripture was said in Hebrews? For this life has been unforgiving in ways that one could never anticipate nor extol. Said virtues driving from gleaming metal. This would be more proverbial, poetic, I would guess. I don't know. Its mellow tones of Oris forever stir my heart into oblivion. It leads my body down the path of death and torment for the drive that calls out to me each and every minute of my existence. My mind sears deep within my eyes to see the ever-present sculpture that carries innocent men far to the great rapture along roads of unwavering sensuality. Its brightness weakens even the strongest among mankind. Whatever it is or wherever it goes, there exists human form ready to welcome its upheaval despite consequences. Now, I may be reading something similar to what we read before. I think what I was doing was, I think I did edit some of this. Okay. So what's going on? So that's pretty much, I'm going to stop there. And, oh, I see what's going on. I have two. Okay, let me read this. Now, I know this is taking a little bit of time. You know what? Tell you what, let's do. I'm going to stop this one and we'll carry on.